Day 1, every toy was a hit. Day 3, 2 were already broken. By the end of week 1, we tossed 4 into a pile of expensive plastic rubble. We ran a 30-day test with 11 interactive dog toys and 3 very different dogs. A calm, older dog, a mid-energy dog, and one that treats every object like a personal enemy. Most toys didn't survive, but 5 of them. 5 kept the dogs coming back, stayed in one piece, and actually did what they promised. That's what this video is about. If you've ever spent $20, $30, maybe $40 on an interactive toy for your dog, watched them destroy it in 10 minutes, and thought, okay, what am I even doing? You are not alone. And honestly, the problem isn't you, and it is probably not even your dog. The problem is that most interactive toy reviews are written by people who handed the toy to their dog for an afternoon and called it tested. That's not a test, that's a photo op. We wanted to do something different. We took 11 of the most recommended interactive dog toys on the market, the ones showing up on every best of list, the ones with thousands of 5-star reviews, and we ran them through 30 full days with 3 real dogs, living real lives. Different energy levels, different play styles, different levels of, let us say, toy aggression. By the end of day 7, 4 toys were either cracked, missing pieces, or just completely ignored. By day 14, we'd retired 3 more. What we were left with were 5 toys that genuinely held up in durability, in engagement, and in actual enrichment value. So in this video, I am going to walk you through exactly what we tested, how we tested it, and which toys earned a real recommendation. No sponsored bias. No affiliate fluff dressing up a bad product. Just what actually worked, and why it worked. Before we get into the winners, let me tell you how we actually ran this test. Because the criteria matter. We didn't just watch dogs play. We tracked 4 things consistently across all 11 toys. First, initial interest. Did the dog engage with it on day 1, and for how long? Second, sustained engagement. Were they still going back to it on day 10, day 20, day 30? Third, durability. Any cracking, broken parts, sharp edges, or pieces that came off and became a swallowing risk. And fourth, enrichment quality. Was the dog actually thinking, problem-solving, working for something? Or were they just batting it around out of boredom? That last point is the one most reviews miss completely. There's a massive difference between a toy that entertains your dog and a toy that mentally engages your dog. Entertainment fades. Engagement builds something. A dog that has genuinely worked through a puzzle, figured out a mechanism, solved a sequence, is a more tired, more satisfied dog than one who just chased a squeaky thing around the room for 20 minutes. Mental fatigue hits differently than physical fatigue, and for a lot of dogs, it is what they are actually craving. Okay, let us get into the 5. Short start here is something most people get wrong about interactive dog toys. They think the goal is to keep the dog busy, but that's not it. The goal is to make the dog think. There's a real difference between a dog that's entertained and a dog that's mentally engaged. Entertainment fades fast. Mental engagement. That builds confidence, reduces anxiety, and leaves your dog genuinely tired in a way that a walk alone doesn't always do. When you pick a toy, you are not just filling time. You're exercising a part of your dog's brain that doesn't get enough use. And that changes how they carry themselves for the rest of the day. Short end. Number 1, the layered puzzle feeder. This was the toy we expected the least from, and it ended up being the most consistently used across all 30 days. The concept is simple. Food is hidden under sliding panels and removable discs at different difficulty levels. What makes it different from a dozen other puzzle feeders we've seen is the layering. There are 3 difficulty modes, and you can actually progress your dog through them as they get better. Day 1, the older dog figured out level 1 in about 4 minutes. By day 15, all 3 dogs were working through level 3, and the average solve time was somewhere around 12 minutes, which is significant for a food puzzle. Durability was excellent. No cracking, no chewed edges, dishwasher safe. The only real limitation is that it doesn't work for power chewers who decide the toy itself is the snack. If your dog has ever destroyed a rubber Kong, watch them carefully with this one at first. But for 90% of dogs, this held up beautifully. Number 2, the treat dispensing Wobble ball. We almost skipped this one because, let us be honest, Wobble balls have been done to death. But this particular design had something different, an adjustable dispensing hole and a weighted base that creates genuinely unpredictable movement patterns. Most Wobble balls fall into a rhythm your dog figures out in 3 days. This one didn't. The irregular roll kept all 3 dogs guessing well into week 3. Engagement data for this one was interesting. The high-energy dog, the one that tends to destroy things, actually used this appropriately because the wobbling gave them something to respond to physically, not just chew. They were pawing, nudging, chasing. It redirected that intense energy into something productive. The calm, older dog took longer to warm up, but by day 12 was using it reliably before meals. Durability. Excellent for the low to mid chewer. If you have a serious power chewer, the dispensing hole can get worked over time. Keep an eye on it, but structurally no issues across 30 days. Number 3, the Snuffle mat. I know it's not flashy. It doesn't have moving parts or 3 difficulty levels. But here's the thing nobody tells you about Snuffle mats. Used correctly, they are one of the most powerful decompression tools you can give your dog. We included one in the test because we wanted to track enrichment quality across different toy types, not just puzzle complexity. What we found was that after high stimulation periods, a noisy household, a busy walk, an anxious afternoon, the Snuffle mat was the toy all 3 dogs gravitated toward most naturally. The nose-down, slow foraging behavior it produces activates a dog's parasympathetic nervous system. In plain English, it calms them down. Not because it is boring, but because foraging is a deeply natural, self-regulating behavior for dogs. Sustained engagement. All 30 days, every dog never skipped. Durability. The mat itself held up fine with machine washing. One note, if your dog starts eating the mat fibers rather than foraging through them, supervise and reintroduce with better treats as incentive. Number 4, the multi-step treat lock box. This one was the most divisive toy in our test, and that's exactly why it made the top 5. The mechanism requires the dog to pull a drawer, rotate a dial, and lift a cover in sequence to reach a treat. 2 of our dogs were obsessed with it. One wanted nothing to do with it after day 2, and that taught us something important. Difficulty calibration matters. If the gap between what your dog can figure out and what the toy demands is too wide, they quit. This toy is genuinely hard. It's designed for dogs who have already worked through lower-level puzzles and are ready for a real challenge. If your dog has never done enrichment work before, start with toy 1 or 2 on this list, then graduate to this. For the dogs that engaged with it, sustained interest was unreal. One of them would return to it 4 or 5 times a day without any prompting, even after it was empty, just working the mechanism. That's the sign of true cognitive engagement. Durability was strong. The locking mechanism stayed firm, the materials didn't degrade, and after a month of daily use, it looked nearly new. Number 5, the lick mat with textured zones. Another one that doesn't look impressive on paper, but the data was impossible to ignore. The specific model we tested had 5 different texture zones, grooves, ridges, pockets, crosses, that hold different types of food and require different licking patterns to empty. You can load it with peanut butter, wet food, plain yogurt, mashed banana, whatever works for your dog. What this toy does better than anything else on the list is reduce anxiety in real time. Repetitive licking releases endorphins and drops cortisol levels. We noticed it most clearly during thunderstorms and in the 20 minutes before a vet visit. Dogs that were visibly anxious settled within 5 minutes of being given the loaded lick mat. That's not a small thing. That's a behavioral tool disguised as a toy. For sustained enrichment, rotate the food combinations. If you load it the same way every time, the novelty fades in about 2 weeks. Mix it up different textures, different foods, freeze it for longer engagement, and the interest stays high. Durability, excellent. Machine washable. No degradation after 30 days of regular use. Now let us talk about the 6 toys that didn't make the list, and why. I am not going to name specific brands here because products change, and we are not in the business of dunking on a company whose next version might fix the problem. But I'll tell you the failure patterns. Failure pattern 1, the novelty toy. This is the toy that creates massive excitement on day 1 and 0 interest by day 5. It usually has a sound element, a crinkle, a squeak, that drives dogs wild initially, but has no lasting enrichment mechanism. Once the novelty is gone, there's nothing left to engage with. These toys topped our initial interest scores and tanked our sustained engagement scores. Failure pattern 2, the fragile puzzle. Several puzzle toys in our test had interesting mechanics, but were made from thin plastic that cracked under real use. One had a removable piece that became a choking-size chunk after day 3. If a toy cannot survive a month of daily interaction, it is not a product, it is a prototype. Failure pattern 3, the mismatched toy. This is the toy that works perfectly for one type of dog and is completely wrong for another. A toy designed for a light forager handed to a power chewer is going to fail in about 48 hours. Before you buy, be honest about your dog's play style. Are they a chewer, a nose worker, a problem solver, a tugger? Match the toy to the dog, not to the reviews. So what does the right interactive toy actually do for your dog over time? This is the part I want you to sit with. Mental stimulation, real, well-designed enrichment, doesn't just fill time. It changes your dog's baseline. A dog that gets consistent cognitive engagement is less reactive on walks, less destructive at home, less likely to develop anxiety behaviors. Because a significant amount of problem behavior in dogs comes from one place, an understimulated brain with nowhere to put its energy. Think about the last time your dog was truly, genuinely tired, not just from a long run, but from working something out. That bone-deep settled calm they get, that's what we are after. And you can create that without running 5 miles a day. You can create it with 15 minutes of the right toy and the right setup. So there's the honest version of this test. No filler, no paid placements. Just 30 days of watching 3 dogs tell us with their behavior what actually worked. If you are ready to start somewhere, the layered puzzle feeder and the Snuffle mat are the most accessible starting points for most dogs, regardless of age or energy level. Go from there. Try the Wobble ball if your dog is high energy. Graduate to the lockbox once they've built up their problem-solving confidence. Pay attention to what your dog actually returns to, not just what excited them on day 1. That return behavior, that's your real answer. Give your dog the chance to think. You might be surprised how much they've been waiting for it. Thanks for watching. If you loved this video, scan the QR code on the screen right now to subscribe and join the Pawsome Life family. Give your dog a belly rub for us, and we will see you in the next video.